Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity of Kona. So glad to see all of you today. We would like to begin our service by saying our affirmation for the month, it's coming up right now.
Go Patrick.
I'm unprepared, my apologies.
It's okay, we got this. Okay, so our affirmation for the month of August, so it's a new one. Can we say it together?
Stand up.
Oh, we're going to stand up. Okay. All right, here we go. All together. I choose to give and receive blessings each day. I am grateful. And we'll
Thank you so very much. Aloha, everyone. Today, for Sunday, August 6, 2017, word is compassion. Thank you, David. There is only one presence, one power in the universe and in my life, God. Today's affirmation is one of the basic principles of unity. Embracing this principle defines our purpose as spiritual beings in human form. If fear-based judgments cloud my expanding awareness of spiritual truth, I affirm this principle, then remind myself of Jesus' words, "Judge not." Compassion is the spiritual energy that dissolves the negative effects of judgment. When I reflect on the conflicts of the world, I learn from the consequences of judging others. I appreciate the rich diversity of this moral realm without insisting on either superiority or conformity. By making loving choices in my life, I honor and recognize the oneness of all beings. The reading, "Beloved, let us love one another because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God." It's John 4:7. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Do you want to have us say the affirmation again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Apologize. The word for the day, compassion, and the affirmation together, everyone. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
And now I invite you to visualize our sanctuary as a beautiful heart. And let's see this heart moving in and around and through each one of us. And just filling our sanctuary, our whole unity center here, with that light, the love, the caring and compassion that we have for ourselves and each other. In these moments, we allow that love to come forth. And if you know of anyone in need of prayer, see them in our heart. And if you know of any circumstance in your world, in our world, in need of prayer, let us see them in our heart. And now I invite you to get centered and close your eyes if that feels right to you. Just get comfortable where you are. And we just take a moment to breathe, being grateful for this very breath of life that is God. And as we take a deep breath and we exhale deeply, we begin to relax. Relax into this moment. And we continue to take those deep breaths. And each breath brings us to this moment. We truly know that this is our time of reconnecting with the God of our being, of knowing that in these moments we are blessed to be. We're blessed to be here right now. We are blessed to be in each other's presence. We are blessed with that desire to know and love God more. Breathing and relaxing. Breathing and just being. Being here right now. In these moments, we affirm this truth. I am now open and receptive to the blessings of Spirit in my life. I am now open and receptive to the blessings of Spirit in my life. And affirm this silently in your mind. I am now open and receptive to the blessings of Spirit in my life. And allow your mind and your heart to be open right now to blessings. Blessings that are great and blessings that are small. We cultivate this as if we are gardening, creating that space for more to grow. Right here and right now. We are truly blessed. And as we go into a time of quiet prayer, we can take these moments to count those blessings, to allow that spirit of gratitude and receiving to take place in our life, right here and right now, in the silence. And now taking another deep breath. And as we exhale, we just say thank you, God, for bringing us here, for blessing us, nurturing us, and loving us exactly as we are. And so it is. Amen. So what a blessing. See, we start counting all the blessings, everywhere, every way. And today I said, Sash, here, pull a card. And so this is Louise Hay, and she, the card that she pulled was, everything is working out for my highest good. Trust that even in challenging times, the universe only wants what's best for you. Can you relate to that? She pulled that today. How's that? So today my lesson today, and at the end of the month, the last 2 Sundays are going to be about the Sermon on the Mount, and the Beatitudes. So how many of you know any of those Beatitudes? Carla does. Do you remember what they sounded like back in the day from old Sunday school? When they say blessed. So the King James Version is probably the most old school. And it says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, when I was a little girl, and young woman, growing up with the religion I did, I learned that I had to be these Beatitudes so I could go to heaven. And every time I failed, I felt worse as the years went on. Because these simple Beatitudes and teachings were supposed to be the ultimate way that Jesus wanted us to be, so we could be like him and go to heaven. Well, I always prayed I wouldn't go to hell, and I thought at least I needed to go to purgatory so I could make things right. So there began my life's work of beginning to please people, to please the nuns, to please the priests, and every other person that was around. And so my experience of the Beatitudes was not very pleasant. I didn't know any of this till I grew up. And then as I got older, and when I came to Unity, I was like, oh, so that's what this could mean. And I can interpret it the best way I want to know how. And how's that? Blasphemy. So we learned, and I learned through all this wonderful truth, that it's okay to translate those teachings to how they work best for me. And so in the Bible, the Sermon on the Mount is only mentioned in 2 Gospels in the New Testament. In Matthew, he has 8, and in Luke, he has 4. Discrepancies everywhere. And because the Bible was written so much later than Jesus' time, think about when you're in your 70s and 80s and you're trying to recall what happened when you were young. How does that story go? You miss parts, some get better than ever. You love the people more, you dislike those more. It happens. So that's how these stories are. So when I read Robert Schuller's book about the Be Happy attitudes, that's what he called them. So it was all about living life the best way you know how and to be happy. And I want you to think for a moment, if you just take a breath right now and be right here, aren't you happy? In these moments, when you're here right now, is anything bothering you? Even the aches and pains in your body might not be present. So that's what we want to learn today and the next few weeks, is how to be in this precious moment that where God connects with us, we connect with God, and we know the truth. Carl Menninger wrote, attitudes are more important than facts. You all know when you're with somebody and they have a bad attitude, right? Do you want to be around them? No. Do you want to just tell them to go away? Yes. Do you? Mostly not, because we know how to be that good, kind person, right? But what if you just said to someone, I really would rather be happy right now, and what I'm hearing from you is not enhancing my happiness. Because that's what Beatitudes are about. That's what blessings are, is to enhance what you already have. And when you're with someone that you love and you love their attitude, what happens to you? It's contagious, right? And you begin to feel differently, just like when we have a negative attitude. And so how do we go through all of this and make sure that we can walk through and have a better attitude. Well, in Matthew, he wrote that Jesus went up to the mountain and he began to speak. In Luke, he wrote that Jesus went up to the mountain, came down, and then spoke. So however it is, in our teachings, when Jesus goes up to the mountain, he's going up to a higher consciousness. So both of them said that he went to a higher place before he began his preaching. And that's what we want to do, is learn to go to that higher place that allows us to be free to be who we are. So whatever occurred on those 2,000 years ago, those teachings were made by Jesus and they expanded his consciousness and in turn the consciousness of everyone around him. And we have the same capabilities of enhancing someone's blessing within them. And we may not ever know what it is, but when you smile to someone on the street, you smile to someone who cuts you off in traffic. You smile in those moments when you least feel like smiling. Guess what happens? You enhance the other person and you get a blessing too, because you change your consciousness. And Jesus said to all of these people that followed him everywhere, love and forgiveness, that's what we're about. And he didn't say, if you follow all my teachings, you'll go to heaven. He said, you are the light of the world, and let God's light shine from within you. And that's what we came to believe. That's what we believe here in Unity. And so I was so happy when I came to Unity, even though sometimes I didn't know the teachings, didn't know if I liked them. So I started teaching Sunday school. And that's how I learned what Unity was about. Because all of those teachings are so, so beautiful for our young people. And then I got involved with teenagers, which was a real blessing. Because most teenagers back then and today are struggling, trying to find a way, trying to find the truth. Because maybe they don't hear it from their parents. Maybe they only know what's going on their electronic devices. Wouldn't you say? YouTube, Snapchat, Bolu. He's only 9. He's got it all wired. And you know what's funny is we just want to learn what's the truth. How many of you have gone to a website and tried to find out information and you found out it was wrong? Anyone? Or do you believe everything you read? We do, don't we? It kind of becomes an automatic thing. But what if what you're reading or seeing or hearing isn't enhancing your spirit? What happens to us? It only takes one negative thought to spiral us down. So how do you bring yourself up from that to be able to receive a blessing? How do you do that? What do you do in your life, in your daily life, to allow your blessings to manifest? Anyone? What do you do? Pray. Tom said silently. He prays. Turn off the switch. Yes. When you let negative in, you become negative. One negative thought can breed rapidly and go rampant. Just like neighbors in your neighborhood. When they start having parties and adventuring, or chickens that take over your neighborhood. What I told you this morning, we have some of the healthiest looking chickens around. And I told the guy at the butcher shop, come up to my house. You want free range chickens? We got them, and they're really big. So come and get them. it's interesting where you can bless people in various ways. Because I went there to get some bone broth, and I said, hey, come up to our street, and you can have all the chickens you want. Because sometimes there's 30 or more. Yes, and there's also things to go with that. Poop. So that's the end result of negative thinking, wouldn't you say? So if I see the chickens as negative, guess what I'm going to see more of? More poop. Everywhere. And I'll step in it. And I'll have to hose it down. And I'll have to clean it up. And guess what comes back the next day? More poop. So I changed my consciousness. And we have less chickens than ever right now. Right, guys? Yeah, it's probably just because it's not their season. But whatever. So it's so interesting how what we do when we change our consciousness. Because I had to come to love all the chickens. I come to love the negativity. So that's what I invite you to begin to take a look at today. And the way that we do this is simple. You know how truth teachings are so simple? And they're so easy? Are they? Would you say your spiritual life is easy? At times. That's right, when we're in the zone and the flow. And so here's what I came up with, because this is what I do with my negative thought. I recognize it and say, oh, there you are. There you are, that thought that wants to create something yucky in my mind. And I acknowledge it. I say, there you are. Okay. And then I address it and I talk to it. The last few months I've been doing a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer, music, all these wonderful things to enhance the blessings in my body. And this one meditation that I listened to, he invites me to journal with the disease part of my body and ask it what it wants to tell me. And that's a very good thing for me to do. And so I journal, I write, I talk to it, it talks to me, I bless it, and ask it to leave. And I see the healthy cells returning to my body. That nucleus where the Christ consciousness lives returns to my body. And then I affirm 1,000,000 times a day. I mean, seriously, if I have 60,000 thoughts, I'd like a lot of them to be positive. Visualize and let it go. And it seemed to be simple, but I'll give you an example. When I know that I'm going to a doctor's appointment or I'm going to have another test done, that can start a negative thought. Because not everybody is on the same page about illness, right? And a lot of times doctors are not either. But fortunately, by the grace of God, my doctors are calling me the happy person. She told me last time I was doing fabulous. Do your doctors say that? Fabulous. All these wonderful things are coming forth from the medical profession. But if I read, I do a lot of research, do a lot of reading. But if I read some negativity, guess where it spirals me? To the grave. And so Myrtle Fillmore is one of my great teachers, co-founder of Unity. And she talked about how she healed her body. And that is what I do every day. I read the chapters in her book, How to Let God Help You, and I ask for help every single day. In connecting with God and knowing there is no disease, knowing there is no incurable condition, and to move forward. Is it hard? What do you think? Yes, it can be. But guess what I do? I surround myself with happy attitude people, because that is what I want to do. And so affirmations are a fabulous way of healing. I can feel my voice going a little spacey now. And so I honor that. See, I acknowledge it. That it says, you're getting a little tired in your voice. So I gotta breathe. I have to relax. And if I need a substitute, my girl is here. But I say every day, 100 times a day, God is healing me now. And I have a little rosary in my car. And those beads, I go around and around and around, saying affirmations while I drive, because it works. And so when I do these things, I might have to have you come up, because you can, what happens, my breath gets shallow. Because vocal cords, did you know how important they are? Yeah, well, anyway, I'm gonna have Saj do the rest of this.
Okay.
Thanks, honey.
So the Beatitudes are all about creating and having a happy attitude no matter what is going on in your life. And I did not have the Beatitudes this week. And I was going to help do this talk as well. And I was not having a happy attitude because I was going to do half of it. It was one thing after another. Friday, I think, was the culmination of the week, where even my shoe broke while I was walking. And I let those negative thoughts run rampant until I finally went to my mom's house and had a really good cry. And that's how I released all of that and sat there, got some love, and I could carry on. And I think we all need that sometimes. So the first two we're going to explore today, and then we're going to do 6 more later in the month. So I have a few different versions of the Beatitudes so you can see which one feels the best, or how you can ponder each one and come up with your own. So let's see. So the first version is the KJ version? King James Version. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The message in the Bible says you are blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and his rule. Then our Schuler says, I need help, I can't do it alone. Which is where I was at. I needed help on Friday, and I let it go. And yeah, and I pushed through, and I needed to do that. Had a good night at work. Larry was playing, which was always my happiest night at work. And I had a young lady who was 18. She's a hostess there. She's going through a really tough time in life. And just like it reminded me of what you were saying earlier, she doesn't have a mom very present or a dad very present. And she looked at me and she goes, I wish you were my mom. Aww. And so I just knew that I could be there for her. I said, I'm here, you can call me anytime. And that was my way of helping her. She goes, you're just so positive. And I said, if you knew the day I had earlier, how unpositive I was, but I try to go in and do my best, and I'm not going to give someone else. So even if I'm having a bad day, I'll still smile. And she says, whenever you walk through the door, I know everything's going to be okay. Blessed means divinely or supremely favored, fortunate, blissfully happy, or contented, bringing happiness and thankfulness. Okay, the number 2 Beatitudes in the King James Version are, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. The message is, you are blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by one most dear to you. And Robert Schuler's version is, I'm really hurting, but I'm gonna bounce back. Unity in Rev Deb says, this is her teachings. When we open ourselves to the truth of who we are, we will feel comforted and cared for. And comfort is to soothe, console, or reassure, bring cheer to, make physically comfortable. Mourn is to feel or express sorrow of grief. So we get to begin right now to create beatitudes. Right now. And we have to be here right now in the moment. I didn't want to be here in this moment this week because I'm taking my daughter back to school. She's a boarding student on Oahu. And I knew this week it was coming to an end, that this summer was over. She'd say, "Don't cry, Mom, you always cry." So I was sitting in her room, I think, one of these nights going, she won't be here. This night, a week from now, she won't be here in her room. And I had to go, that's not in the moment. I wasn't experiencing that moment when she was home right now. So that helped. I had to remember that in these moments, everything is okay. But in that moment, that's our Beatitudes. That one negative thought can take us down that path. And I did that this week. And I had to remember and come back on that path. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's all good. No, I told her, be prepared. I haven't talked for 20 minutes, 25 minutes in one span yet since May. It's the end of May. So it's very interesting how it all happens. But I know that with Sasha, like since she was a little girl, one of her things that she just didn't like ever was when her birthday came and went. She would always say, "My birthday passed out." She was like 3 or 4 years old, and she'd be crying and so sad, and it's still with her today. She doesn't want anything to end, especially the happy stuff. Aren't we all that way? We are. We want all the good stuff to keep happening. And the way we make it happen is to be in the moment and allow that happiness to come through. So are you willing to do this? And you just read those Beatitudes, find what works for you, and let it shine through. Because that's what we're here to do.